When I was in the 8th grade, I finished a long and turbulent year of my life. I had just flunked out of the high school that my older brother Mario and older brother sister went to, so my 13-year-old ego was pretty bruised and I was pretty embarrassed. My parents were concerned at the time for why my grades had been dropping low enough for this to happen, and at the time, it really seemed like my biggest issues were not going to a cliquey high school with football games and dealing with the crippling anxiety of being a freshman. That was all, of course, until I realized my brother was exactly 4 years older than me and what that really meant. It never occurred to me that that meant we'd be in the exact same positions in life, but simultaneously in two completely different worlds. I would be entering the new and bewildering world of high school being a freshman, and he would be exploring the fresh and unnerving campuses of being a freshman in college. And then, even then, I couldn't really fully grasp that leaving home was a possibility for my brother. Mario had always been a pretty nurturing and soft person in my life. He had always chosen the route of like kindness and was truly deeply uncomfortable at the thought of even unnerving or harming someone's comfort. And whenever my parents would ask him, Mario, like, what are your plans for college? He would always say something like, well, I love home and I would love growing up here. I'm in absolutely no rush to get out of here. I, of course, always believed him. I had no reason to question my older brother. He was honest, admirable, and I certainly just never assumed that he would flee across the country. I always knew, like, would compare his responses to those of my sister, who was only 1 year younger than him. She would always respond with answers like, oh, me? I'm getting out of here as soon as possible and as far as possible. She always managed to get out with a boisterous tone and a bright smile on her face, but I would always see the flash and the flinch of sadness go through my mother's face, the dry swallow of her throat every time my sister would pull one of these answers. And I don't think it was necessarily her eagerness to leave or anything like that. I was just really convinced that my sister had always preferred to be out and alone and doing her own thing. Well, time went on, and eventually the end of the year came. I was finishing my 8th grade year, going to my freshman year, and my brother would be graduating. That meant that his decisions would soon be following suit. I had learned to pass my time in similar ways to my sister. I'd chose being in the company of books or a pair of headphones with music so loud my ears would be ringing. And I just tried anything and everything to outrun this fear that I was facing of being alone. I tried literally everything except actually taking the time to spend my last few weeks with the people that were important to me. And I truly regret that even to this day. What seemed like just any day in April during the last few weeks of school for me, I came home to a silent house. I treaded all the way down the long stone gray hallway and to my parents' room. I found my whole family sitting together on the light gray fuzzy comforter in my mom's bed. I just remember looking down and seeing the glowing laptop screen that I vividly remember belonging to my brother sitting in front of all of them. And I remember in that moment there was no words really to be shared, just a glance that I remember between me and my mom. She looked at me like she knew that I was gonna have my heart broken, but also so extremely full of pride. And it was my brother who finally spoke to me and said, I got a letter. And I'm really hoping it's a yes from this one, Allie. I looked over at his face and I passed through the faces of my mom, my dad, and my sister. And I simply replied, well, come on then, let's open it. Hello. I joined them on the soft plush bed, and anyone who's ever opened any college letters with anyone knows that this part happens relatively quickly. I just remember reading the first very special words that everyone holds their breath waiting to hear, those congratulations, and I heard the sharp inhale of my brother next to me and the loud shrieking of my sister behind me. And I just let my eyes wander to the top of the page, And that's what I read. Purdue. That's what the top of the page read. And right about then is when my heart stopped. My breath shortened and I felt the pulse beating behind my eyes. All the way to Indiana, that's really how far my brother had to go. The rest of April went by without a flash, without me having time to catch one thought. Before I knew it, it was mid-July and I was spending the last holidays with my brother. And you know what? I have to say it was one of the very best. While I had an overwhelming and great fear of being alone, I had an even greater fear of letting everyone around me leave and losing those last few moments with the people that I truly love. That summer, I spent every possible second I could with my brother. We did cousin bonfires, dinners, movie nights. He even made the effort to drive me anywhere when I was going with my friends. Overall, going through this experience really taught me that a less noisy hallway and a less crowded kitchen doesn't make you alone. It doesn't make you lonely. Because I will never lose the love or the relationships that I have built with the people that are important.